Today I wanted to talk to you guys about non-attachment. They say the root of all suffering is attachment. And I would say that this is true from my path and my experience. Years ago, I went through a divorce and I was attached to everything. I was attached to the house. I was attached to the furniture in it. I didn't want to let go of things. I was attached to my children. And on my path, I had to learn to release all of these things, including the attachment, such a strong attachment that I had to my children, which, I mean, some attachments are good, I understand, but depending on how we view them, they can cause us much suffering. I was even attached to, certain holidays and having my children with me on those holidays, and I had to learn to release that as well. Unless I wanted to suffer, right? If you continue to have attachments, then you will suffer. And where does this suffering stem from? It's mostly here, right? The suffering stems from our thoughts and how we view something. My ex-husband, he would keep the children on holidays because we didn't have anything like set and written up in the beginning with our divorce on specific holidays. And so that caused me a lot of suffering. Oh, I can't believe he's keeping the children from me on Mother's Day or Christmas or whatever it was. And I learned that if I didn't want to suffer, I could switch the way I viewed anything. And so I wouldn't have this attachment to some holiday. I would view it as, okay, this is just another day. So that's one way that you can release yourself from suffering, is to change the way you view something. We've been taught that, to have self-worth or self-value that we need things, right? Like a car, a house, and all these things. And I, on my path, have had to learn to release attachments to even these things. My husband and I, during COVID, got a 60-day notice that we needed to move. And where we were living, there were no rentals or even houses to buy at that time. We were living in Big Bear, California, and everyone was either selling their homes for ridiculously high prices or renting them or Airbnb-ing them, because everyone wanted to be in the country. They were escaping the city during those times. So we got this 60-day notice to move, and we're like, what are we going to do? And an RV ended up coming on our path, and so we knew this was our next step. And we lived in it a year, learning sacred medicine down in Mexico, and we had totally remodeled it, fixed it up. I was super happy with it. I loved it. I could have lived in that probably the rest of my days and been satisfied. But that wasn't my lesson. My lesson was to learn more non-attachment. And so after a year of being there, we had to come back to the United States after my accounts got hacked to resolve some issues. And on our way back, the RV broke down, the engine blew, and it was just as much money to fix the engine as almost the RV was basically worth. And our bank accounts had just gotten hacked, so we didn't have access really to credit cards or anything in that moment to be able to do much. So we released the RV. We gave it to someone who said they needed it, and we felt really good about that decision. We thought, okay, this is someone who needs it. They said they didn't have a home, and we thought, okay, we're, helping someone on their path. And then I don't even know what they ended up doing with it. They could have sold it. They never went and got that RV and did what they said, but non-attachment to what people do with our gifts, non-attachment to the things that we have. Because if we are attached, that's what's going to cause us to suffer. If I had a set expectation on what that person did with my gift, it would cause me suffering. Release it, let it go. Non-attachment. And that goes for everything in life. Then after that process, we ended up getting a van and we fixed it up and we lived in it for 3 months in Mount Shasta. It was the best summer of my life. I had so much fun. And we were driving back from picking up my daughter at the airport and it broke down. The transmission blew. And again, at that time on our path, we didn't have the funds to fix it. And so we knew we didn't need it anymore. And we've been going with the divine flow in that way and releasing all attachments. When we are attached, it will cause us to suffer. So even though, it wasn't the nicest van, it was really, I had gotten a little bit, I enjoyed it. I was happy with the simplicity. And it was still a little sad to see it go, but I knew that was my path. And we can change the way we view anything. We come into this world with what? Nothing. And you're going to leave with what? Nothing. So all these material things that everyone puts such an emphasis on, it's not bad, it's not good or bad, it's all energy. But the way we view them can cause us suffering. I'm not saying that having a lot of things is bad. It's not. Having, abundance, everything is energy. It's what we do with it, right? But if we are so attached to it that when it leaves, it causes us suffering, then there's room to grow. Even with, anything, our children, we can love them and want what's best for them. But if they are in a place where they're not willing to do the work and heal themselves and want what's best for themselves, there's nothing more that if we are attached to an outcome with them, then it will cause us suffering. But if we can love everyone without an attachment to how they love us in return, then it will not cause us suffering. This non-attachment is an art. It's not something that typically one masters overnight. But it is a spiritual practice that when one learns, then you can be happy no matter what. No matter what life throws at you, no matter anything, when you're not attached to an outcome, then you can learn to be happy in each moment. And that's true mastery. That is true power. When you can be happy with what others might view as nothing, knowing that you have everything, then you have mastered yourself, which is the greatest thing that you can do. Much love.